So CHIFT started at Erasmus University, but we're very keen to participate and collaborate with absolutely everybody. And we're very happy today to have a partnership with the Rathenau Institute, and we have one of the rising stars of the Rathenau Institute coming tonight to speak to us about his vision of the future. Please welcome Jelte.
Hi, Samantha. Good morning, Theodore.
Good morning.
You have a meeting in 5 minutes. You want to try getting out of bed?
You're too funny.
Okay, good. I'm funny. I want to learn everything about everything.
Well, thanks. Great to be introduced as a rising star. Well, my name is Jelte, and I wanted to talk to you about what I think will be a fundamental shift over the coming years in the way people and technology interact. I'm starting with this title, referring to the fragment you just heard out of the movie Her by Spike Jonze. And somewhere in the beginning of the movie, the main character says to his smart operating system, which he installed on his computer, and eventually falls in love with, well, you seem like a person, but you're just a voice in a computer. So the interesting thing about this film is, probably many of you have seen it as well, is the relative absence of screens. The main mode of interaction with technology here is through voice, through speech. And while Her is a picture about the future, I think we can actually see that future already emerging a bit if we look around us. Over the past years, it's become far more normal to talk to our devices. If you look at things like Siri, like Google Now, Cortana, if anyone ever uses Microsoft. We have these devices in our pocket which we can address through speech. And Amazon recently brought a new thing on the market. It's a thing. You really don't really know what it is. It's a black cylinder. You put it in your room somewhere central. And it doesn't have a screen. It doesn't have any visual interface. You can only address it through talking to it. So you can ask it to make a list of grocery shopping or add something to your agenda or maybe read you the weather or some nice news, latest news flash. And I was reading a review about this device in Wired magazine, and it suddenly struck me that how personal the relationship with this device got. If you read some of these fragments from a user's description of the device, you can see that it went from, well, cute but infuriating to genuinely, consistently useful. I got to know it, and it got to know me. So that kind of typifies that someone's really developing a personal relationship with this, well, black cylinder. And suddenly, the scenario of Her didn't seem that much far away anymore. So I asked myself, okay, what's happening here? How is this changing our relationship with computers? So over the past decades, I think we can see a few eras of how people interact with computers. We started out interacting through code. The first few years, everything was just, well, even punch cards or talking to computer in terms of digits. And then in the 80s and 90s, a huge revolution happened. We could evolve through the graphical user interface. We could point, we could click. Everything became much easier. And I think we're now on the brink of entering into a new era, the era of the conversational interface, where we start talking to computers. And I think this represents a fundamental shift in how we relate to these computers as well. Because for the first time, we can talk to computers in our language, and the computers start learning our language instead of us having to learn theirs. And that also changes how we relate to these technologies. Because we talk to them, we interact with them as if they're social beings. You can see this, I'll come back to Alexa once again, or the Amazon Echo, which is entitled Alexa as a personality. Once again, where you can see how a user addresses the device, it asks a question, and then it comes with a reply, and automatically someone says thank you. I normally don't say thank you to my computer that often, but because we're addressing it through speech, because we're behaving socially, we're all automatically also acting socially. And you can see the confusion emerging from there, because the device replies, and the user instantly thinks that, well, the device has some kind of feelings, that it sounds pleased, and he's getting confused whether it's a she or an it. So, while this is, in a sense, nothing new, we've always, well, especially some men have always given their cars names. But there's something changing here as well, right? Because we start talking to things, and for the first time, this is also a conscious element of the design of these devices. The next hot job in Silicon Valley is for poets, the Washington Journal recently wrote. The Wall Street Journal, recently wrote. Companies like Google, Facebook, and Amazon, they're suddenly hiring playwrights, they're hiring novelists, they're hiring poets. People who can craft the personalities of series, can craft the personalities of their AI devices. Anything from delivering the uhs and ahs in the right moment to sound human, to inserting the occasional joke, and even, well, giving the device a female voice, because research shows that female voices are accepted more easily. If they give the Siri a female voice, people tend to think that the advice Siri gives you is more their own idea. So it's all deliberately constructed this way. And so on the one hand, I think this is a very interesting and very beneficial development, because for the first time we can talk to computers in our language. It's far more intuitive, far more natural. But at the same time, this means we're letting computers far deeper into our personal lives. They're becoming a part of the interaction rather than an object we interact through. And from that position, they also gather much more personal information, a fact that we rarely even notice anymore because we interact with them as we would with humans. We don't notice anymore that they're devices that are consciously constructed, deliberately made by companies in such a way, and from the perspective of a business model to collect in a, well, maybe as personal information, or to put some devices, put some services, make some services more interesting for you. For instance, if you ask Alexa to play some music for you, it will do only so through the Amazon store. If you ask Siri to order pizza for you, it might only do it through its preferred pizza delivery services. If you ask it to read the news for you, it will choose what news outlet best suits your preferences. So these devices are making more and more choices for us, but we rarely even see it anymore because we interact with them in such a social way. And it all starts with a friendly hello. So coming back to Theo Wambley and the phrase I started with in the beginning, you seem like a person, but you're just a voice in a computer. I think her very vividly paints the image of a future in which we can interact with devices in a social way, which is very exciting. But the quote also reminds us that we sometimes have to stop and realize that these technologies are in fact just a voice in a computer, a piece of a technology that's deliberately constructed as such. Thank you.